Hello and welcome to Operations with Void. This is my first video. From now on, we plan on doing weekly videos that showcase operations with a different type and class of ship. This week, we will be doing slow battleships, specifically the Colorado, as the Nebraska is coming up and it branches off the Colorado. And we will be taking a familiar operation, well, hopefully familiar to a lot of people, Narai. So without any ado, we'll go into battle. Now, Narai is a fairly old operation. There have been a few changes since it was first introduced, but for the most part, it's mostly stayed the same. The recent update up-tiered some of the ships, but that's about it. Before, in old Narai, the first wave of ships could either spawn on the left or the right, and so a ship with radar was very helpful. So everybody with slow guns, Colorado, could turn their guns to the direction in which the ships were coming to. Now it is set, there is no variation. The ships will always be coming from the right. So we always pre-train our guns to the right. There will be 3 ships that come from the right: a destroyer, a cruiser, and a battleship. The cruiser, well, the cruiser is the Mille Britain. It's too thin. Our shells will just overpen it. It's not worth our shot. Destroyer, well, it's normal to overpen. And now, as you can see, the other cruisers are taking out the Emil, so there's no reason for us to shoot at anyways. Not enough HP. So we're aiming at the New York, which is also easier to hit because it's much slower. And there we get 3 citadels with 6 hits, a good chunk of 49k. The Colorado has good guns. If this was a Kansas, we might have deleted the New York, but unfortunately no. Just 8 guns. And now, since the Emil is down, we have nothing else to shoot at. Might as well shoot at the destroyer. Even overpens are plenty. As a battleship, the next target would have been the fort. We have looked over to the left. The fort is dead. There is no need to shoot the fort to support the team. Leander, while it's tempting in a slow battleship with the big guns, again, it will only be overpens. So we are waiting for the Queen Elizabeth. And there we get some good damage. Now, if you notice, we're at full speed. And you should be at full speed for most of the game. If you are in a Colorado and you are behind the transports, you're out of position. If you're in any battleship and you're behind the transports, you're out of position. The only time you should be with the transports is if you need to heal up. Hampshire, you see that? Should move up, go somewhere. The Yukon in front of us could be forgiven to be in the healing circle. But even then, for battleships, usually the heal that we have equipped is better than what the healing circle gets. In fact, the Yukon over there, he's healing up and using the smoke screen to stay undetected, so to make the most of his heal. I say that as he fires. But yeah, you see how much the Yukon healed back up so quickly. You couldn't even get that much in the heal circle. And here we are. We're going to give a nice tap to the Cleveland as he passes by. Unfortunately, that brings us down to 10 knots. It's just only half speed. And we're trying to make sure our rear guns stay to the right, because after the Dallas, there pops up the Leander. And when it comes to cruisers like this, you want to be able to shoot them in the nose with a battleship. Oops, we're running around on the Farragut. Oh well. How earlier I said the Leander was too squishy to get any good damage? Well, through the nose, we get Citadels. Because the entire length of the ship is plenty to arm these large shells. The gal over there, broadside cruiser. Well, we want to get rid of him because he has torps. But we're expecting overpens. And we get 3 overpens and 1 full pen. Could have been worse. The next thing we need to do is we need to be looking at the Missouri. We need to be angling. Tier 6 and Tier 7 battleships, the Missouri's guns just overmatch the nose. And if you're too broadside, like I just was, well then you'll take pen damage anyways. At least it was at Citadel. And there we returned fire, and we got more damage on him than he did us. We're just ignoring the destroyer shooting at us from very far away. It's just an annoyance. Now we're actually slowing down here because we're expecting that the Yukon will not be able to take out the Missouri with anything short of a ram, and we don't want him to ram either, which his drive-by only took away 20k. So at this range, when we fire, we're likely to get Citadels. And we got 2. While the Yukon went on the right side to try and keep the turrets turning and to dodge shells for the Missouri, we went on the left side of the rock because, well, Missouri can't shoot through the rock either. And that gave us time to reload and not be shot at. And we're looking at the Omaha. Someone got a Citadel on the Omaha, but unfortunately we won't be able to get a shot in. We throw up the spotter plane to maybe hopefully get a shot over the island to help out our Akizuki. Occasionally a battleship will need to shoot over the islands to help out with either the carrier or the cruiser. Unfortunately, the island's in the way, so we won't be able to do that. And we're just going to have to trust our destroyer. I would like to have HE loaded, but we were still judging for the cruiser that we can't get. So we're just going to have AP loaded as we look at the destroyers in front of us. Now the Wakeful is a British destroyer, so it's going to shoot its torpedoes one by one. All British ships that are bots single launch their torpedoes. Now you see the Rook is being smart and he's backing up to make sure he doesn't get torpedoed. I'm just charging. We're expecting 1 torpedo soon. And there's the torpedo in the water. So we're able to dodge this one. But unfortunately, the Wakeful is still alive with 1 HP and is able to get 1 more torpedo off before he dies, which incapacitates a turret. Now we're just going to leave that turret incapacitated and then the Cleveland sets us on fire. We're actually going to let it burn because once we get in close enough, the Cleveland's AP just won't penetrate. He'll be shooting at the belt like that, and it'll be shatters. And if we take the damage control off, or we use the damage control and heal the fire, then he could set more fires. And now that the fire is mostly burned through, we're actually going to save the damage control until later because the main fleet is going to show up, and we don't want to have a double fire. Our heal's also coming off. Cooldown in 18 seconds. Now we're going to target the Omaha. Hopefully get citadels. Actually going to get overpens. And we're targeting it because it's the boat with torpedoes that we could possibly take out quickly. It's also easier to hit than the destroyer. The Bretagne in front of us, he's shooting at us, but it doesn't matter because we're giving him our bow. More overpens on the Omaha. The Bretagne's guns aren't big enough to overpen the bow of New Mexico. Well, they aren't big enough to overpen a New Mexico nor a Colorado. And we're still getting overpens. I may not be the best shot. I am very much underleading that Omaha. And here we are. We're actually turning in right now because both those ships have most likely already thrown torps in the water. And this is going to be more overpens. Also, we're putting mostly our bow or angling towards the New Mexico. And see, the shells just ricochet. And we have torps, more torpedoes, and more torpedoes. 4 racks of torps were sent at us. And if we didn't turn in and stop, then there would be no more Colorado. And just because a ship isn't visible and they're in a smoke screen doesn't mean they're not there. Like we were able to blind fire that New Mexico. Now here I was going for the ram, but I couldn't get it, so the rear turrets for overpens, it doesn't matter where you hit them, it's going to be overpens to get that damage, to make sure the destroyer is dead. At this range, we're also going to get overpens on the Indianapolis. Probably should have waited to use them on something else, but we'll probably be fully reloaded by the time we can even shoot at the QE. Now that we're in the harbor, and since we don't have torpedoes and the enemy ships do, we don't have to go that far. But we're also not sitting in the heel circle because we're hoping for broadsides and citadels. And it's also, if you're out in front, the enemy ships will be shooting at you instead of the transports, which will help with the secondary objectives. And here, I actually should have used my damage control party, but I didn't because I wasn't thinking. Or I was thinking I didn't want a second fire as soon as the damage control party was not active anymore. And there the QE takes us down to 16k HP. And then we're down to 10k from a shell from the Colorado. And the Colorado pens us through the nose for the rest of our HP. Just as our heal just came off cooldown. But still, we have 250k damage. We're actually going to come in second with this. And it is going to be a success because, well, everybody went up and pushed, and we have 5 ships left with the enemies only down to 2 left. So with Narai, especially now, priority targets must be on ships with torpedoes and ships that you can take out most of, if not all of their HP as soon as possible. And this one, we actually win not by killing the Colorado, but by actually getting the successful landing of 2,000 troops. And here we are, the battle results. Anyways, that's it for this video. I hope to see you again next week. Like, subscribe if you want to, or don't. I'm not your mom. Have a good one.